Right, portfolio update time. We've got a lot to get through, so let's get straight into it. I've got a stocks and shares ISA we're trading 2 and 2. It is currently sitting at £133,736. Quite a few quid for me, that is. Over the course of the last month, then we're up by 3%. Right, and when you get above this sort of number, a 3% increase represents a £4,000 return. It is ridiculous what happens when you get above six figures. Over the last week, though, we are down by just short of 1%. Uncertainty around tariffs and stuff. The market got a little bit spooked on Friday. This is Sunday now when I'm recording this. So things have taken a bit of a dive. But over the last 3 months, when we look, we are up 9%. For me, that's £11,000. That's a hell of a lot of money. Over the last year, we are up 15.4%. And look at that massive drop there in the middle. That was April with the tariff nonsense that was going on, but still up 15.4% in this portfolio over the course of the last year. For me, I'm really happy with that. Max view then, just short of 60% up. Last week I was around 65 to 70% up. That decline has had an impact here, but still really happy with the return. So let's go over each of the holdings. So the all world, self-explanatory, 3,500 of the biggest companies across the world. I use Invesco, I use FTWG because I just like that dividend. It is the biggest amount of cash that I have invested in this portfolio. I've got £66,500 in there. Now you'll see that it's only 10% up, 11% up. That's because I have changed within the last couple of years my all world. So I banked that gain and rebought. S&P 500. Year to date, we are up by 6.2% total return, including dividends reinvested. And it hit an all-time high on the 28th of July. It was 6,389. We've pulled back a little bit since then. Interestingly, more than 82% of the S&P 500 companies beat expectations in recent earnings reports. And that's the first time that's happened since 2021. However, we are still at a PE ratio of 22.2. Now that is pretty high. So that's the future earnings. So there's 22.2 years worth of earnings baked into the price of the stock of the ETF at the moment. So that's well above the 5-year average of 19.9. And some people think we're in for a crash imminently. We may well be. No one knows for certain. In terms of what the analysts are saying, it ranges from thinking that we're going to be finishing anywhere around 7,200, Morgan Stanley, all the way down to 6,500. That's anywhere between a 4% and a 15% increase by the end of the year in the S&P 500. Now, analysts get it wrong all the time. Don't forget about that. I like to go through the detail because I just like to understand what's going on with my holdings. But in reality, I'm holding this for decades. If they get it wrong, it doesn't bother me. If it crashes, it doesn't bother me. If it goes up 20%, it doesn't bother me because I'm holding it for decades. So don't worry too much about what analysts say. I kind of just include it because people are interested, but it doesn't really bother me too much. The other thing to bear in mind is this, this is all buoyed by AI and tech. So a lot of the big seven are pulling the S&P 500 at the moment, and that always is the case. Now, the big seven now probably won't be the big seven in 20 years. So that's important to bear in mind as well. That's why it's so difficult to pick individual businesses. And I'm more than happy to have the majority of my US investments into the S&P 500. Let's go through the individual holdings. And so Microsoft, I'm up by 72%. That's up 20% in the last 3 months. So the market really believes that Microsoft is massively positioned to lean into AI. And you'll notice over the last month alone, it's come down a little bit since, but earnings came out and they were really good. So $76.4 billion in sales, which was up 18%. So it's a massive return versus last year. And that's driven predominantly by Azure, which is their computer software suite. It's all the stuff that they do. That was up 39%. Microsoft has just announced that they're going to be investing $30 billion into data center capacity. So they really are leaning into this, and that's a hell of a lot of money to be spending. So hopefully that pays off going forward. I'm always comfortable to hold Microsoft. It does pay a small dividend. What is it at? It is very small, 0.62%, comes in on a quarterly basis. I have a relatively small position within Microsoft, £3,800, but it is up by 72%. Legal in general next then, so I am up by 1.6%. It is up on the month, it is up on 3 months. Let's have a look at the week. I think it's down. Yeah, it's down by 0.9% on the week. And the max view, it's always important to zoom out. It's pretty volatile, this business. It's up and down all over the place. Now, most people invest into legal in general for the dividend, which is incredibly attractive. At the moment, it pays a dividend rate at 6.88%. So you're getting 6.88% back from any investment that you put into it. Obviously, you want to hope there's some growth in there. The reason I invest into it is I really like that dividend. One, yes. I like exposure into UK finance sector and pensions and stuff like that. That really helps with my diversification. And I've held it for a long time now. Now, despite the fact that I am only up 1.6%, I've got £3,500 in here. I'm more than comfortable to keep holding it. Legal in general delivered 12 billion in revenue last year, but they did struggle a little bit, and net income was only 170 million. Now that only represents 1.6% margin. So It is, you're not going to retire off legal in general, but it is good for diversification in my portfolio. And there's a £500 million share buyback scheme coming in 2025. An EPS growth expected to be around somewhere between 6 and 9%. Again, from the analysts, think what you want to that. So it's doing okay. I'm relatively happy with it. I'll keep holding it. Realty Income next, which is my REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, of course. That basically invests into property across the US. The Realty Income, where is it? Where have I gone? Here it is. So I am still down. What am I down? I am down by 10.6%, which is significant. I didn't buy it at the right time in reality, but it is one that I will continue to hold. Sales in Q1 were above expectation at $1.38 billion, and they are at 100% occupancy, which is really important. So 100% occupancy means all the properties they own, pretty much, are getting rented out, so they're getting cash for it. It's a bit of a reliable income payer. It comes in once a month, nothing spectacular about it. It's got a dividend yield at 5.6%. It's one that I'll continue to hold. 3 months, it's up, down 0.5%. 1 month, down 2%. 1 week, down 2%. 1 year, down 2.5%. So, again, it's not one you're going to retire off, but it gives me diversification into property. Lloyds Bank next then. So Lloyds Bank, I'm up by 52%. I did deposit a little bit into it recently, so to pull it down, I was about 60% up. So 24.86 over the course of the last year. Absolutely flying. It is down on the day, but everything is down on the week as well. Most things are 3% up on the month, and over the course of the last 3 months, 7.31% up. Nice dividend. Have they fixed it yet? No, still says 0.04%. I don't know why they do that. It's 4.2% the dividend on Lloyds at the moment. They achieved net income of £8.9 billion, which is pretty good. That's up 6%. Therefore representing a return on equity of 14.1%. Now, the dividend has recently been increased as well by 15%, but there are some potential headwinds coming along in terms of any macro events could potentially affect how Lloyds performs going forward, but who does that not affect at the end of the day? For me, it's a stable play. It puts me into UK banks, and I'm comfortable with it. Of course I am, because I'm up nearly 52%, which is great return for a UK FTSE 100 business. Aviva next, up 35% on that, so represents about £3,000 on my portfolio. Over the last 3 months, up 11.73%. The dividend yield for Aviva is 5.63%, so another tasty pair. And there's not much really going on, to be honest with you. It's pretty stable. There's not much going on in the background in the leadership in terms of performance. It is just a pretty boring, stable business. But sometimes you got to have a few of them in your portfolio. So Aviva for me, like I say, is at £2,926. Now I'm up 35%, as I mentioned, but I actually up much more than that. I originally bought this in Hargreaves Lansdowne, and I was up by 40% when I sold it and brought it in here. So I banked a 40% gain, brought it into trading 2 and 2, and now I'm up another 35%. Well, that's because I invested into it 5 years ago, so it has taken some time to get to that point. Next up then is Unilever, which I'm 12.78% up over the last 3 months. It is down, however, but it gives me another diversification into like consumer goods, healthcare goods. It has global reach. You're buying a UK business, which means you don't pay withholding tax. You do pay stamp duty. No way getting away from that, unfortunately. But Unilever pays a dividend on a biannual basis, and it pays 3.18%. It's conservative, but there's, we don't always go chasing after the biggest dividends. You can fall into the dividend yield trap with that. I'm okay with Unilever for the time being. They're seeing growth within ice cream, believe it or not, and some personal goods, which seems to be doing pretty good. They're also focusing on how they can expand into some more emerging markets. And they've got a new CEO in place called Fernando Fernandez. So we'll see how he or she, is that a male name or a female name? I'm sorry. How they perform over the course of the next couple of years. Unilever, okay. Alphabet then, doing really well. Alphabet, known as Google. I've got, I always miss that. What have I got? £2,146 in here. I'm up 57%. So my individual businesses, on the whole, are doing pretty well. They're beating what I'm investing into the market from the ones that I've chosen. The majority of the Google growth has come from Google Cloud, which has surged by 32% over the course of last year. Absolutely flying. So Google is another one that's really leaning into AI very well, and it's doing a good job of it, and the market recognizes that, and it's rewarding it with the increase in the share price. Search, so the predominant purpose of what Google is, and YouTube revenue seems to be increasing. Not for me. I need to hand some of that down. However, spending is ramping up, which you could interpret as a good thing or a bad thing. Depends how they spend it. And they're going to be spending $85 billion in R&D going forward. So hopefully that pays off. One of the biggest risks for Google at the moment probably is competition from alternative places that are potentially going to do a better job at AI. So there really is an AI race on at the moment. But the market believes that Alphabet's in a pretty good place to take advantage of it. Apple next, one that's not doing as well. I am 32% up, but over the last 3 months, it's decreased by 1.49%. So this is all around the tariffs. Now, despite that, the numbers are pretty good. iPhone sales have surged by 13%, which is significant given that everyone thought that they weren't going to be selling any iPhones going forward. Well, they clearly are. But the market's just not reacted to it. It just doesn't like Apple at the moment for whatever reason. I do, and I'm going to continue to hold it. Within Apple, I have got 1,900. That's because I trimmed it. So it is one of my smaller positions now. I think I was about 60% up, and I cut it in half because I wanted to bank some of them gains. What I do when I bank those gains, of course, as well as I invest them into the oil world. So if that helps me to increase my returns a little bit, even better. Johnson & Johnson next. This is one of my smaller positions, 1,700 quid in here. Over the last 3 months, it's up by 7%. Over the last 1 month, 7.5% on the week. We won't really worry about it too much. Down 0.5% on the year. It's only up by 4%. Johnson & Johnson pays a dividend coming in at 3%. They recently had very good earnings, which is why we can see that spike that we can see there. And that's because Q2 sales were up by 6% and growth was up as a result by 18%. So it's doing okay. The market, again, does like this business and thinks that potentially there could be some growth in the future within it. I am keeping my position small. I'm not so sure about Johnson & Johnson going forward, but that, I am still holding it. I have done for now 4 years maybe. And PepsiCo in last place is really down for me. So in my PepsiCo position, I am down 20%. It's not doing well at all. Obviously, clearly, I bought it at the wrong time. On 3 months, it's up 4.5%. They did have a bit of a return, but it has pulled back a little bit. On the year, it's down 20%. So the year, over the course of the last year, is when we've really seen some damage. However, Q2 has beat expectations. So that's probably why we saw that bit of a jump. It has pulled back a little bit since. And this is driven by out-of-home sales, by the way. So sales have increased, but margin is down slightly. They are looking at expanding a little bit and moving potentially into more healthy based snack type products. Now they're putting a lot of capex into that, and that worries me a little bit. So I've spent 20 years working in R&D for some of the biggest food and drink manufacturers in the world, and the vast majority of those products don't go anywhere, right? You might get lucky. Obviously there's a lot of work that goes on in the background, but they are hard to become mainstream brands. Let's think of an example. So a friend of mine was the marketing director at Molson Coors and developed Madri, who you might know. It's basically, I won't tell you the secrets about it, but he developed that brand in Burton-on-Trent, right? And that absolutely flew. It's basically kept Molson Coors doing the numbers that it is doing in Europe. So Carling is another brand that Molson Coors owns, but Madri has really surged. There's good profit margin in it, and it has just become a fan favorite for whatever reason. However, there are equally other products that have been developed, and I won't mention them to save his blushes, that have not done as well, and the majority of them don't. So going into new areas, new types of brands, new categories, moving into health, putting significant capex into it, if that's the growth strategy for Pepsi going forward, it remains a concern to me. So we won't go over the RoboPie this time. I'm going to do a specific video on that. And Virgin Galactic is, as it always is, just there as a reminder not to be an idiot. Right, obviously I don't want anyone to blindly copy this pie and portfolio. It is just what works for me. But there's an overview of how I'm getting on. If you've got any questions, let me know. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time.